Today I'm sharing 3 different crafts that you can do with cardboard boxes, and the first one is a Pom Pom Ball Drop. So you can find anything that's circular shaped to trace circles onto your box. I just took the pom-pom in the circle to make sure it would fit through the hole. I chose to do 4 circles because I want to have 4 separate spots to drop the pom-poms in, but you can really do as many as you want depending on the size of your box. I would recommend doing larger pom-poms like the ones I have here if you have a child who's under the age of 3, because if they're young, you probably know this already, but they're likely to put things in their mouths and you don't want this activity to be a choking hazard. And a lot of pom-poms that are smaller, you can find your child will stick them in their mouth and could swallow them, but these ones are big enough that you won't have that issue. So with spring coming up, I wanted to decorate this and make it really fun and thought of a few different fun spring shapes that I wanted to do. So I was going to do a sunshine, a butterfly, a cloud, and a ladybug. Feel free to make this activity as simple as you want. You could simply just have holes in the top of a box and work on motor skills, but I wanted to make this a little bit more interesting, theme it towards the season, as well as working on color matching. So I am just taking my pencil here and sketching out the different shapes that I want. I'm a bit of a perfectionist if you can't tell, so I was trying to use all these different tools to measure, but found it to be a lot easier just to freehand things. And I am going to paint these shapes on top of the box. You could use markers or colored pencils, crayons. You could even print an image out and paste it or glue it onto the top of your box if you don't want to get too crafty, but you want the images to be colorful. If you are planning on doing this as a color matching activity, I will say I didn't do this perfectly, especially you'll see when it comes to the butterfly and the purple color that I chose, but you want to be really careful to match the color to the pom-poms, just because your child, as they're learning colors, will really recognize when 2 things identically match or match pretty closely, as opposed to a really dark purple and a really light purple. They might not recognize that those 2 purples are the same thing. So be conscious of that as you are selecting the objects that your child will put into the holes in the box and the coloring that you're putting on the outside of the box. And it doesn't have to be pom-poms. If you have some balls around the house from another toy, you can make the circles large enough to fit the balls that you have. Like I said before, you can make this activity as simple as you want. You'll see as I paint the red circle around for the ladybug, you could do this around the circles and just help highlight the different colors, or go all out like I'm doing with the different shapes. I was trying to add a little bit of detail to the butterfly there, added in the body, and then I'm going in for the detail work on the ladybug, and you'll see our child Owen popping in and out here. He was just hanging out with a bunch of stuff on the floor of my office and mostly throwing things in the trash there. Once I got all of the painting done, I took out a Sharpie just because I wanted to add a little bit more detail and outline all of the shapes here and add some more detail onto the butterfly and the ladybug like antennae. Even topped off the ladybug with some googly eyes that I had and a hot glue gun. The next craft I have for you, you're going to want to break down your cardboard box, just cut a piece of it so you'll have a flat sheet, whatever size you want. And you do need to plan this craft in advance because you want to start saving up wipe tops, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with them in a second. But again, I'm using springtime images here. I printed out a few different ones, and actually I revised this and made it a bit of a printable, so I am going to include that in the description box below if you want to print this out and it's springtime for you as well and you want to make this craft for your little ones. But you can also just find any images online, print them out, match the season, match a certain theme, and cut them to be the shape of the wipe top container, because you're going to do a little bit of a peekaboo game here. And like the previous craft, there's a lot of options that you can do here. You could also write on the top of each cap a word. So for images in the inside, learning animals, you could write elephant on the outside, and then when they open it, there'll be an image of the elephant. You could do it with colors. I have seen something similar to this before. I did not create this idea. I've seen it around Pinterest and Instagram, but I've seen people do this with family members. If you're doing a DIY craft, feel free to make it as personalized as you can, because toys that you find out there are not going to have images of you or your spouse or your child's grandparents. So if you want them to learn the members of your family, that would be a really great thing to do with this activity. And they can learn grandma and grandpa's face and learn their names and learn mama and dada and associate it when they do the little bit of a peekaboo. And I'm sure your child would love to see your face when they open up that wipe top. And you'll see it's so easy to do this. It depends on the wipe tops, but these Kirkland ones I used had a lot of sticky residue, so I was just able to stick it on the image and then hot glue the image back onto my piece of cardboard. The last craft, you're going to need another full box here. I created this image with numbers on it, just 1 through 6, and I will include this in the description box as well if you would like this printable. And I'm just cutting it down to the size of my box. I resized it so it would fit on top of my box, and I am just going to tape it on top. You could also glue it on top, whatever works for you, but I like the clear packing tape on top because it will help preserve the image a little bit better in case there's spills or liquid or anything like that on top of it. Once I had all of my packing tape on there, I'm gonna start making holes in here. All you need to do is just push the golf tee in there, wiggle it around just a little bit. I had some that were easier to push in than others, and I actually found that making a hole first with a ballpoint pen made it a little bit easier to get the golf tee in there. And I wanted this activity to grow with our child, so as he's just learning, it might be easiest for them to pull the tees out of the holes if you pre-put them in the holes for them. Then they can start learning how to put the tees in there themselves. And if you do use numbers like I'm using, you'll see I did 1 T on the number 1, 2 on the number 2, 3 on the number 3, and so forth, so they can start to learn counting. You can talk about colors. You could paint the tees to match the colors, so they do color matching again. If you have a tool set or any toys like that where there's something similar to a hammer, they could learn how to hammer these tees in. And if you want it to be even easier, you'll see I took an X-Acto knife and just made a little bit of an X on a few of them to show you that you can make the holes a little bit bigger so it's not as tight as your child is learning to put the tees in the hole. The last step that I'm doing is just giving our child visual cues here by circling all of the holes so they know exactly where the tee goes. The holes are pretty obvious, but if you have an image where the colors are darker or you just want to make it really obvious, you can circle them like I did with a Sharpie. So that is it for today's video. Let me know which craft is your favorite. If you make any of them, tag me at Sophisticated Motherhood on Instagram. I would love to see and share what you created. And as always, I'm so glad to have you here with me as we navigate this motherhood journey, and together we make it sophisticated.